Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, the UBports Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. This is episode 110, streamed live on October 9th, 2021. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week are Marius.
Hello.
And Alfred.
Hello.
And they're here, and I thank them for it. You are the troopers of Ubuntu Touch, truly. As is everyone who's here, thank you all for joining us. We're going to be talking about tons of news and questions that you have in the community, including one really big one that you will not want to miss. It's all here. It's all now. So why don't we stop talking and get to it? Except for this part where I start talking. If you like what we're talking about here and want to see if your device is supported, you should pop over to devices.ubuntu-touch.io. If your device isn't on the list, it's going to need a custom image made for it. And you can find out how to do that at the porting documentation at docs.ubports.com/porting. A lot of people worked really hard on that. We appreciate them, and you should see their work. All right. Alfred, I think that you had something you wanted to plug before we started this week.
Yes, exactly. I've had the opportunity to join Dr. Bozza and a few Volla people from Hallo Weltsysteme for their regular question and answer session. So I was there answering a few questions that they had, the community around them. And I also had the chance to talk about the Ubuntu 16.04 things, the 20.04 things, even the PDK. So it was quite fun. And I can, for those who understand German, I can highly recommend listening to it because it was very interesting, and also getting feedback from regular people who use Ubuntu Touch daily or plan to do so is very encouraging. So I must admit, it was a very good feeling being there.
Cool. You should send me a link to that so that I can put it down in the description so that people can go to that directly from here.
Sure.
Thank you. I have something to plug this week. I have a new podcast. It's the same podcast as last time, but you should still go and listen to it. LinuxAfterDark.net. It's myself, Joe, Chris, and Gary, and we're talking about philosophical questions affecting Linux, like where's Linux going to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years? First episode was out almost 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And the next episode comes out on Friday. You won't want to miss it. And you won't want to miss any episode after that. LinuxAfterDark.net. On to the news this week. Unless Marius has something to plug. Hey.
Nope.
Okay.
No podcasts here.
All right. Cool. Thank you. B1 Systems is celebrating the 30th anniversary of Linux by donating 30,000 euros to a project chosen by Survey. And you should head over to their survey, and, well, UBports is one of the projects on that list. We'd appreciate it if you hopped over there. I'm going to drop a link to that in live chat, and I'll also have it down in the video description after we're done here. I think that would be very cool of you. Pages in German, it doesn't say anything about only people who speak German being able to answer it, or only people inside of Germany. So have at it. We appreciate it if you would vote the way that you like. Thank you. And why don't we talk a little bit about Xenial? Yeah, that old thing. The OTA 20 release that's going to be coming out soon. And all of the changes that have been made going to all of your Ubuntu Touch phones also soon. Last time we had a question about CA certificates and the Let's Encrypt root certificate from several years ago expiring, and asking if that affected us. We didn't think so. We were wrong. That change did affect us, and it is causing people on OTA 19 who are connecting to Let's Encrypt protected services to have some trouble. It doesn't happen in the browser, but it does happen for, say, your calendar sync, emails, and things like that. So if your email suddenly stopped working last Thursday, that is the 30th of September, that's why. There's a fix it is available in the Devil and RC channels right now. We would appreciate if you would help test. We've also merged a fix for microphone access in Morph Browser and custom messaging sounds. If you get an SMS message, you can set your own sound instead of having to use ours. So that was pretty cool. We appreciate testing, again, for all of these things. So I would appreciate if you would download Devil, RC, check these things out, let us know how they work. While I was writing this, I thought, boy, it'd be pretty cool to be able to round up all of the changes to Ubuntu Touch device ports in this section too. Someone should really tell us about all the changes that have been happening to ports over the last couple weeks. I would really appreciate if someone would write those out for us and send them to us in the Q&A thread. Because I don't think that we give our porters enough airtime, and we really should do that. Marius, what have you been working on the past couple weeks?
So I have been working a lot in the background, actually. You may
Didn't
not
notice.
Okay, so been working a lot in the background. So I've been working on I would say one of the most selling points of Ubuntu Touch, which is conversions and a quote-unquote desktop mode. So I've been working a lot on actually fixing up a lot of those issues. Fixing like the thing with the desktop mode is that it is working really well, but it has some annoying bugs that makes it unusable for most. So I've been working on that. I'm working on the Android 9 port or the Android 9 mirror tree to actually mash it together to become one, because now we have Android 9, we have Android 7, we have Android, like we have two hardware composer, we have hardware composer 2 and hardware composer 1, and I've been squeezing them together, fixing bugs in there, making that actually work so we can get this into focal. Other than that, I've also been working on a secret project.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very good to be able to talk about these things publicly. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right, cool.
I just
Thank
leave
you.
it at that.
I have a feeling it's what you've been tweeting about lately, though.
Don't give them hints.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
We're just gonna blow up.
Oh man, this one's gonna do numbers. Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Also, in other redesigned, sometimes in the background news, Sprins has been working on the UBports installer and has created a UI overhaul, or rather, finally finished a UI overhaul that's been more than a year in the making. It's been pretty cool. Oh, Marius, you're so nice. Thank you. It looks nice. There's new animations, and it doesn't have quite as many popovers anymore. And the ones that it does have work better. I appreciate that. This is coming with a lot of new changes and features to the UBports installer, and a lot of reviews, and just generally fixing things up inside of it. It's been very nice. I appreciate having Sprins back. Also, with that, there have been a lot of issue requests filed on the UBports installer, and as always, we need help from people to help people get Ubuntu Touch installed on their device. A lot of times, people are filing these issues, and all they've done is something like their storage is encrypted, and they need to check the wipe data option because they're coming from Android and stuff like that, or they haven't successfully followed the steps. And after looking at a few of these issues, you start to see that pattern, and you can help other people. We would really appreciate if people would take a look at github.com/ubports/ubports-installer. The issues tab there has lots of things on it. We really need your help triaging those and making sure that anything that's open really is a bug with the UBports installer. Thank you. I have caffeine. I keep saying thank you. And over in the focal corner, Rajanan has sent a patch to Ubuntu for 2104, 2110, sorry, to help with the etc directory being read-only, with systemd not liking that. Ubuntu has a patch to systemd that's supposed to fix that. It doesn't work quite right for our use case, so Rajanan fixed the fix. Submitted the fix to 2110 because in order to submit a fix to 2004 so that we don't have to carry it, it needs to be in 2110 first. It's a bit of a process working upstream, but we'll get through it. We also have System Image Client in with tests, and we appear to be building system image compatible images, but we're still working on some of the infrastructure around that. Specifically, I'm working on the infrastructure around that to make sure that these things actually get into system image and they're installable on your device. It's almost here. I said it was going to be here months ago. Sorry. And we're currently looking into moving Media Hub over. Might put that on the back burner for a little bit. We don't know. But we now have a Phono UBports and a Phono Upstream packaged for Ubuntu Touch. And those are two of the forks of a Phono that we currently have, now packaged to be in a single repository. They conflict with each other, so they can't be installed at the same time. So we can still build separate root file systems, but we don't have this maintenance problem that we've been having with Xenial. So this is a huge technical debt payback and just a huge win. I'll be talking a little bit more about that later. Up next is a Phono Sailfish. And rounding out this section of the news, the non-experimental section, there are a few applications that have been coming to the open store that we think you should take a look at. Thank you to Matteo Salta for rounding these up for us. And those are Pixelorama, which is a pixel art editor that runs well on a desktop or tablet. I have been looking for a pixel art editor on Ubuntu Touch for so long, and it's finally here. You might not know, I do art poorly, but I do like to do it. And another app that you might like is UT Sysbench Qt GUI by Adam Shree. That's all one project, which is an Qt application that runs a CPU benchmark. So if you want to benchmark your Ubuntu Touch device and put it up against someone else's to fight them to the death, you can do that now. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me with that tone of voice. You know you've wanted to do it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Those are both in the open store. You can get them on your device right now. You totally should. They're free. But we would appreciate it if you donated to their authors so they kept making cool apps for Ubuntu Touch. Links to all of that is in the open store in case you didn't know. All right, Alfred, I want you to take over the rest of the news section so that I can take a drink of water and talk about the things you've been doing everywhere.
Yes, sure. So I have been playing with, you enjoy your water. I have been playing with a lot of kernel side changes now for the devices that I maintain, plus the Volophone. I just noticed one day that Nikita added WireGuard support on the Volophone, and I was like, I want that. I didn't know I needed it, but I need it now. And I added the functionality to both the Xperia X and the Pixel 3a so that it matches what Nikita has done for the Volophone. So that means, in simple terms, you're now able to use WireGuard, the VPN technology, on your Ubuntu Touch devices using the command line. There's also a little application in the open store, but it doesn't work as of yet. It still needs a few fixes, but the issues have been reported. And yeah, I mean, in the end, the VPN story can be very great with that, especially because WireGuard is the big thing, the big new thing out there, and it's nice to have it on your Ubuntu Touch device as well. So that was the first of 4 kernel modules that I played around with. Bear with me. There are a few others. I also added exFAT support, the file system that allows you to have large SD cards and USB sticks attached to your phone or tablets. You can now use them on the Pixel 3a and the Xperia X. And the changes have also been proposed to the Vodafone repository so that Vodafone users can make use of it as well. I really hope that it is, a little helpful to those who need it. Many phones don't actually allow you to insert an SD card, but for those that do, this might be very helpful, storing large amounts of data, bigger files than FAT32 ever allowed to. And let me know if any issues that occur here and there when you try to mount and use files from such a formatted file system, please. So that was number 2. Number 3 is V4L2 loopback. What a mouthful. It is a driver that allows camera functionality to be used in V4L2 only apps, which means the Morph browser. Morph browser with a bridge application that runs in the background with a little service that you don't even have to care about, that you don't touch directly, just transparently pipes through whatever your viewfinder would show to your browser, which should allow you to get video chats on your Ubuntu Touch device. It's still in early stages. I've played around with the driver. I've played around with the bridge. It's not something I can show properly yet, but the first steps have been made. And I hope to have proof of concept up very soon to show to you. And it still needs a few kernel side changes so that AppArmor is respected in that regard. So I might have to do a few changes here and there, then consider it finished, and then others can take those changes into their kernels as well. Might even upstream those changes if they're okay for upstream to take them, which would be helpful. In case we ever need to update the driver, we can just take an update from upstream. And now, number 4. This is, in my opinion, the bigger one, because it's a long-term effort, and that is EVDI and UDL support.
What are EVDI and UDL, Alfred?
Exactly, good question. Those drivers are required for display link functionality on your phone. So those drivers allow you to use display link from various generations to be used on your Ubuntu Touch devices, assuming that Mir has support for multiple platforms. It doesn't have it as of yet, not right now, but upstream developers have told me that it is something that they're looking into. So the multiple platforms thing is something that they're looking into to ship it very soon. No ETAs, but it might work out for the long run. And because I see it in the chat, what is Display Link? Display Link is a feature or a set of it's a solution for allowing you to extend your phone to a Display Link capable video out adapter so that you can use extended mode, desktop mode on your phone.
That didn't really answer the question.
Extended mode?
Display Link is a way to dock to an external display without hardware support for it.
I said that.
No.
In a weird way, maybe.
Oh, bye. That's very loud.
So, the Display Link functionality is something that I'm looking forward to very much, but it needs some changes in Mir. It needs probably some changes for other device kernels importing those drivers. And it will take some time until it's finished. And I will not give an ETA on that just now because it's such it's hard to tell when all the pieces are there, and so that you can fit them together and put them together so that they actually provide what you need. But display link would be cool, and I would really like to see this personally, so that I can actually use my Pixel 3a as a desktop, maybe.
So now that we've talked about the experiments we've done, we should thank our sponsors. So I'd like to extend a huge thanks to our sponsors, including our platinum level sponsors, Smooze, Vala, and Pine64. By the way, Pine64 has released a teaser on Twitter and other social media about something coming on October 15th. I wonder what it could be. It sounds really exciting, though. And I'd also like to thank our community sponsors, including Travis Mackmer, Amalith Rascudnaries, Incensfell, Dan Trevino, Daniel Francek, Robin Hood, Laszlo Tomas, Ian Locke, Max Fielder, A. Thiel, Casey Lambie, George Toma, Renat Mirkalev, Will Atwood, and Scott Marley. If you would like to join them and have me mispronounce your name as well, I really do try as hard as I can, folks. You can head over to patreon.com/UBports and choose the community sponsor level there. Or if you'd like to find another way, you can head over to ubports.com/donate, where we've got lots of options. 5 of them, in fact. Some of which are tax deductible and some of which are not, depending on your jurisdiction. We'd really appreciate if you'd head over there and help us continue creating Ubuntu Touch and hosting it to all these people all around the world. Thank you. You can see the rest of our sponsors over at ubports.com/sponsors. So let's take some questions this week. And we take these questions from our forum over at forums.ubports.com, as well as occasionally a few from live chat on YouTube or from Telegram.
Yes, totally. Let's get into the question by Total Sonic. I was just thinking it would be fun and illuminating and could possibly garner some promotion for UBports. If some recent devices, for example, Vodafone, that were fully configured were handed to some figure that were key to canonical initial efforts to create Ubuntu Touch, like Max Shuttleworth, Jono Bacon, etc. And if their impression on how far Ubuntu Touch had come since the 4 years since Canonical dropped it were recorded and posted as a video. It would be nice to hear some talk to them on what did they think could have happened if Ubuntu Edge had become a reality, as well as what they think UBports can offer in the future in terms of what become of their baby once it left home. Just an idea, and given that UBports has now been developing Ubuntu Touch around for the same amount of time that Canonical did, maybe that makes sense now.
Yeah, so a couple things. Alfred's going to launch into this one, but if the Ubuntu Edge had been funded, it's pretty well publicly known that Ubuntu Touch would have been a completely different thing. It would have been Ubuntu for Android, which is your Android phone that also runs an Ubuntu desktop. Convergence probably wouldn't have happened in that case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also Canonical worked on it a lot longer than 4 years.
But those are just nitpicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally tend to make a lot of jokes around the same idea, jokingly with a little hint of seriousness. I personally really would like to see something like this, just because of all the effort that goes into it, because we are doing quite a lot of things here. We're doing ports, we're doing, so the community as a whole is doing a lot of ports, a lot of development of the operating system itself. And it definitely would be nice to see what the initiators, so to say, had to say about it, what they think of it, what their impressions are, since it takes a lot of effort and time to make Ubuntu Touch work reliably, especially for people who would like to use it as the daily driver. As I've noticed with the Vala people, with the Vala community, they actually see it as a very viable option for daily driving compared to Android. They personally see it as a very good option, actually. So it would be fun to just know what Canonical themselves have to think of it. And I know for a fact that there are few Canonical employees who
Or
use
former
it,
employees.
or former employees who use it or are happy with it. It seems so. Why not? I mean, just to recap my thoughts here, I actually made a tweet saying that one of those employees should just, shove one of those phones to
I
desk
remember
or
that
touch up
tweet
with.
onto Mark's desk.
Yeah, put it onto Mark's desk for you, and let's see what he has to say about it.
It's a joke, but it would be fun. Yeah, and jeez, the thing with video projects is that they're a lot of work, so need a lot of time and a lot of people helping to make something like that possible, including someone with either Jano or Mark in their network of people that they can talk to, right? So that's not necessarily us. So if anyone's listening, want to try it out, I don't know. It sounds pretty cool. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be really cool, but could be a lot of work. So I understand if you don't want. Anyway, Alan had a question. Oh, speaking of canonical developers who follow Ubuntu Touch, Alan had a question this week. Miroil is a project to enable running Lomiri on Mir 2.x, but the upstream version of Miroil I know is still incomplete. In a recent Q&A, and in this one, Marius mentioned using Miroil to run Lomiri. How is he doing this? Does he have some additional work to complete it that isn't ready to share yet? Where is it?
So it is on GitLab, on the various repositories under the branch name that I don't remember on top of my head, that I was gonna find on the spot, but apparently I can't.
That's not happening. Send me the link after this.
Yes. So it's basically running it on Focal. That pulls in a lot of different things. The thing that Erlen did, the thing that Alan did, and some additional thing that I did on top of that. It's all a huge mess. It's a major mess. So it isn't completed at all. It's not ready. Well, it is ready. I have shared it already. You can compile it and it works. But commits are awful. It's just a lot of temporary commits. The code is not up to standard. So it will take some time. Yeah, it's better than nothing. I haven't got around to upstreaming it yet. I've been waiting for Alan to finish up, but I'm not sure. If not, I can.
I'm sure it's finished, whatever it is. If it's Alan.
No, Erlen.
I'm sure it's finished there too.
Yeah. So
sorry, I have a bit more faith than them.
Than me?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's the answer. I will send the link to Dalton afterwards, and he will publish it down below, so you can check it out. Thank you. And look at the awful commits and code.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Mario.ch had a question. Is it possible to try a port for the Sony Xperia X, the F5121 and the 5122, based on their Android 9 sources in kernel 4.9? It probably requires a rewritten Halium, or have I not understood something with these AOSP software packages from Sony?
Yes. So for those that remember, I have actually experimented with Halium 9 based Sony Xperia X port in the past. Just I think half a year ago, something like that, maybe even longer. I have played around with this, and sure, it is possible, but it requires redoing so many things that are already working quite well on the current system, on the Halium 7.1 based one, and the benefits there are not actually that many of them, other than maybe being able to run Waydroid, which is arguably a very big topic for a lot of people, but other than that, there is not much to be seen there, and it actually takes a lot of time fixing up things that are already working quite nicely with the current stack that we have, from the kernel up to the Halium layer to the operating system integration. And it is something that I don't have as much time to do as I would have hoped. So if anybody out there is interested in doing that, sure. I mean, I could even give you some guidance there, but for now, it probably is going to stay on Halium 7.1 for the foreseeable future. And actually, you have to remember there are a few, let me say, people out there, users who are not willing or didn't even use the installer themselves. They basically got the phone set up for them, and changing the Halium side also means changing the Sony AOSP software package side of things, so the ODM partition. And if you forget one of those components that have to play with the other side, then the phone is in need of a manual repair effort. And
So
that
there's a
one,
lot to be done there.
yeah, and to migrate that over, we basically would have to ship those binaries, and for those kinds of things, the binary, we have the installer asking you for the ODM partition files for a reason due to licensing, and it's a big mess for sure.
We have a couple final questions this week, and they all kind of relate back to the same thing, so let me go through this. Rogier asked, while I appreciate all the effort that has gone into Morph, I really miss Firefox, and especially the ad blocking plugins. Postmarket OS has taken a different approach to the browser issue, and that's to skin Firefox to make it usable on phones. How hard would it be to have this skinned Firefox operational in Ubuntu Touch? Provoke had a question. Has there been any progress on the wired headphone and Bluetooth button support after that thread a while ago, where a lot of people contributed the exact response of pressing the buttons on their devices? Messiisto asked, I was wondering what the situation is with voice calls and teleports. And this might feel like a hard turn, but last time we had this question and I didn't know how exactly to answer it then, so we skipped it for this week. That is exactly the question where I said, I don't know how to answer this. Let's save it for next time, if you remember listening last time. And that was Ari asking, have you ever made a consideration about what if, put any main developer here, gets hit by a bus? What would happen if Marius, Dalton, or Florian gets hit by a bus, or more probably loses interest in the project? Would the project go on, or would it die? We have a foundation that can be the central point for things like intellectual property and money, but can the project still be defined as an amateur project carried out by a few, or an organization capable of surviving the abandoning from 4 to 5 main developers? Thank you for this question, Ari, really. But let me put it back to you. What do you think would happen? Really think about it for a moment. Like, what would happen if Marius, Florian, Dalton, Alfred, The Kit, Rachanan, Lionel B, or any other seemingly integral contributor, or multiple at the same time, left? Now, the thing is, we've been testing any theory that you just came up with over the past year. Each of the people I just mentioned has been gone, or almost entirely inaccessible, for at least a month at a time. Some longer, and some at the same time. I don't think any prediction that you could have made would have matched reality, because humans are bad at predicting the future. Last month, I spun down my contribution to everything on the internet for 2 weeks, then took another week completely off the internet. Gone. You can think of it as a dry run for what would happen if I did leave, even though to me it was just a way to keep myself from completely leaving information technology. Yeah, I did just admit that I suffered and still do from burnout, or maybe a depressive episode. I don't know, I don't have a psychologist. But ask yourself, why is the question, what happens if someone important leaves? Why isn't it, what happens if no one steps up after that? We can already see the effects of a lack of people stepping up in our community. We've got devices where the ports have languished when their developers go back to college. And features that people wanted to see, like the ones that I just mentioned, that exist and are available as pull requests in some cases, but can't get the fixes or the testing that they need to actually become a part of Ubuntu Touch. And the problem is that no one steps up to do them here. Instead, we get questions into the show asking, well, what happened to that thing? Which is fair. But we answer, well, the contributor hasn't had time to make it happen. And instead of people stepping up and helping make it happen, they just wait a couple more weeks and ask again. Now, I'm not blaming anyone in particular here, not for being gone, not for failing to step up, and not even for asking the questions. If you ask the question and we talk about it, it could encourage someone to step up and do the work on these things. And this is a problem that all volunteer organizations with contracted, paid, or highly motivated individuals have. The unpaid, or people who aren't as motivated right now, contributors, or the people who consume the organization's product, get into a mindset where they think that the people at the top are responsible for all the work. And while that may be true, on paper, I am definitely responsible for all UBports Foundation engineering projects. On paper, that's the case at the moment. That's not sustainable. I've watched it happen in Boy Scouts, in food pantries, even in organizations that provide accessibility and elderly care services. And it's real bad when the primary contributors to those burn out. Trust me. The thing is that if Ubuntu Touch and Lumiri are going to continue long into the future and can survive that many people leaving, we don't need people trying to predict what happens when those people leave. We need people looking at the things that we're doing, evaluating their own skills or things that they want to learn, and taking those responsibilities away from us. I know that's an unpopular thing for me to say, because every time I say, you can make the thing that you're requesting happen if you get involved, they tell me that I should stop being so hostile, that I should be happy that we have the contributors that we do. And I am. I am thankful for everyone who works on Ubuntu Touch, truly. But then the people tell me a few other things. They say, well, you haven't told me how to help you, what we need to do to help you. And that can't be true, because the project management for Ubuntu Touch is clearly out in the open. If you wanted to pick something up to help Ubuntu Touch go over the finish line, whatever it is, you can do that. It's there. The Ubuntu Touch 2004 project is documented on our GitLab epics pretty well. I'm very proud of that, by the way. And we're real active in Telegram, and we have a weekly developer sync video meeting that's open to anyone where you can ask questions. Oh, we also have a show every 2 weeks where we take your questions and answer them with our faces, and we do a production about it. It's called the Ubuntu Touch Q&A. It's pretty cool. You should check it out sometime.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And again, people tend to become angry when we say things like that. They say, well, I'm not a developer. Replace developer with technical writer. I'm not a public relations copywriter, changelog writing robot, project manager, Telegram moderator, Debian distribution maintainer. I could keep going. Depending on any one task that I'm doing on any day that I ask someone for help with, they say, I'm not that. And maybe you're not, but you might be one of the other things. Or maybe you actually do have the skills and don't want to help. It's okay. That's human nature. But the final rebuttal that people have is, you haven't told me how to do it. And since we documented the Ubuntu Touch project, or the 2004 project, and all the things that need to happen for Ubuntu Touch 2004 to happen, what people have been telling us is, well, you haven't told me how to do that. We've been hearing it over and over again. And it's the idea that somehow we have the burden of telling you everything that you need to know to get started before you can start. And unfortunately, I know that's not the case. I mentioned earlier in the show that we've brought on someone to work on a phono, and he was brand new as of this week. He's never touched Debian packaging, he's never touched a phono, he's never touched the dependencies of a phono before. But today we have 2 of the 3 phono stacks that are needed for Ubuntu Touch based on Ubuntu 2004 to exist. I had to help him get him started, of course, but I don't know how to do what he did. I have no idea how to package those things. I couldn't document it even if I tried. And he figured it out. As a side note, we've asked him to document what he learns as he goes along so that it does get better in the future. We didn't have the documentation when we started the project, and we didn't have it when we started contributing, in the case of Alfred, who's been here since long after the project started. There are always projects in the pipeline to get more documentation, but it's never enough. We can't spend all of our time writing documentation. There would be no time to create Ubuntu Touch if we had to explain every aspect of Ubuntu Touch in detail, in writing, in a centralized place. And then the one that does have a kernel of truth, people say that even if I do get involved, it's hard to get a response from anyone because they're so busy. And while that can be true depending on your approach, usually if you get enough help to your project, it means that you're going to get a response from others as well. And it's also a cyclical problem. Maybe you need to contribute to something else so that we have enough time to contribute back to the thing that you're doing. Now, of course, some of the responsibility for all of this, to make it easier for the project not to fall over if a few people leave, is on us. But at the same time, I used to document every single task that happened during an Ubuntu Touch OTA release, from the blog post to the changelog to running the specific commands on our server. I had a ticket open for each of them. No one ever looked and no one ever took one. So I don't think it's a documentation problem or a skills problem, and it's no one that's looking or taking the initiative to get these things off of our back. So Ari, and everyone else, you ask what would happen if an integral contributor ever left the project. And I answer that we've taken a pretty Herculean effort to prevent that from being a problem. It only matters if people step up to share their responsibilities. If you've heard all of this and you're not already contributing to Ubuntu Touch or Lumiri, and again, I really appreciate if you do. Everyone contributes a little bit in their own way, and it builds up to something great that we've created. But if you hear all of this and you say, I really don't have the skills, I really don't have the time to help, the best way to help then is to help us motivate the people who do by giving us money at ubports.com/donate. Get involved one way or another. We would really appreciate it. And that's how we're going to get people to make the things possible that people ask about every 2 weeks on these shows, and how we keep the project from going away if 1, 2, or 10 of us all burn out at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. It's nice and all to have people in the development group who care about Ubuntu Touch, for sure. But the problem is you can't expect the developers to figure out all by themselves, because the development group right now is very limited in its resources, be it financial or helping hands, whatever. We need the helping hands for sure. And whenever I see someone say, oh, well, they would like to contribute code-wise, but they would like to start with applications. I think that's good and all. We need more applications for sure. But what my approach is a little different than that one. And that is, I figure out some application that I want on the top layer. How can I make it working across all layers of the stack, starting from the port? One of the reasons why I started my port efforts was actually to make applications work better for my situation, and so that everybody else could profit off of that. And that's the reason why IsoDrive exists now, for example, as my main example here. I wanted IsoDrive on my phone without Android, and I had to work from the application down to the port level and make it work like that. I know it's hard. It's especially hard for someone who's new to programming. But if you're motivated and new to programming, this is a doable job. So I can only encourage you, if you ever desire to work on Ubuntu Touch for your own use cases, please consider making use of something that is not in the system yet. So please consider it whenever you try to explain people, I would like to work on Ubuntu Touch. Maybe you want to work on Ubuntu Touch without knowing it, and it would improve the situation both for you and the rest of the crowd.
Yeah.
What Dalton said, I couldn't say it better. Basically, I know Dalton has used a lot of time on writing down exactly what he wanted to say, and I think he nailed it. We do need help. We have limited resources that makes us also selective about what we want to do. So yeah, we definitely need all help we can get, and we need to find a way to also grow. We need to find a way to also get rid of this dependence on
the few.
The few. Yeah, we need to grow bigger and become something that's self-sustained, that can handle like 5 people leaving at the vacation at the same time, basically.
This isn't a breakdown or anything. I'm doing much better today than I was a month ago, so you don't have to worry about that at the moment. We are going to be talking more about things like this in the future for sure, and everything relating to Ubuntu Touch here on the Ubuntu Touch Q&A. So you should probably get subscribed to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/UBports, or we release these on SoundCloud over at soundcloud.com/UBports. If you liked what we were talking about, want to find out more, you can see if your device is supported by Ubuntu Touch over at devices.ubuntu-touch.io. And if you'd like to port to a device that is not on that list, you want it on your whatever phone, you can head over to docs.ubports.com/porting to learn more. We have a lot of places that we're reachable, including Facebook, Twitter, PixelFed, Mastodon, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or a news channel on Telegram or Matrix. You can grab all of those from our description, or you can chat with us on Matrix or Telegram, #UBports:/matrix.org or @UBports, respectively. And you can find us on our forum for longer forum content over at forums.ubports.com. Thank you for joining us for this adventure through Ubuntu Touch, and we'll be right back here with you in a couple weeks. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Slap the like button.